When I had started my Unepic Adventure series on Game Gear RPGs, I had intended to include Crystal Warriors, but upon revisiting the game, I realized that there wasn't enough there to justify a dedicated review. Crystal Warriors isn't terrible. Terrible I could work with. Terrible is funny. But it's also far, out of the ballpark and playing a completely different sport far from good. Crystal Warriors is comfort food. A series of relaxing battles that is wholly uninteresting to spectate or talk about. But now that I've played the sequel Royal Stone, which only vaguely resembles Crystal Warriors in combat mechanics and structure, somehow Sega managed to turn the off-brand Twinkie of tactics into the best handheld SRPG I've ever played. And from my experience, best game on the system. Whereas Crystal Warriors was crude and awkward, Royal Stone is vibrant and impressively polished. I know graphics don't make a game, but damn, it's pretty. The most significant improvement, however, is to the storyline. Crystal Warriors didn't have one. Well, beyond there are some bad guys doing some bad things and only Iris and her band of doe-eyed do-gooders can stop them. Royal Stone, however, has a surprisingly deep plot that begins with some intrigue, as our hero Eva is tried for treason and sentenced to death. She survives, and some years later re-emerges as the leader of a band of reformed scoundrels who spearhead the resistance against the invasion of a nefarious empire. Throughout the game, Eva's past is revealed through flashback. In the present, she fights against the forces of evil, and reluctantly defends herself against the forces of good. There are plenty of battles where you feel bad winning because the units you're facing don't deserve to die, and in some cases, they're former friends. There are few happy endings in Royal Stone, and the series' plotline is all the more dire when contrasted against the game's adorable and very feminine cast. As is common practice in Japan, Sega enlisted the aid of a notable illustrator to define the aesthetic of Crystal Warriors. With her character models easily being the best feature of an otherwise unremarkable presentation, it was only natural that Kugatsu Hime returned for the sequel. This time, however, Sega did her talent justice. The battle animations are big and beautiful, the perfect showcase for her gorgeous character designs. It may seem odd that Sega was maintaining two separate tactical series in the 90s, releasing 5 SRPGs for the Game Gear alone. And it is a bit weird. I like strategy battles, but that's a lot. Especially for a developer as diverse as Sega.
Are you coming on to me?
But I gotta hand it to them. They found a way to create 2 completely different experiences within the confines of the genre. Whereas Shining Force is forgiving and a little goofy, the Crystal games are deadly serious. Permadeath is an ever-looming threat, and unlike Shining Force, the battles cannot be refought. Experience is only awarded to victorious units, so plotting out attacks down to the killing blow is crucial if you want to keep your units on level. Rely too much on a single MVP, and you'll soon find that your other characters struggling to contend with the computer's ever more powerful units. But don't mistake the Crystal series as Sega's imitation of Fire Emblem, because this is where things get weird. The entire battle system revolves around elemental damage, a sort of rock, paper, scissors balance where success hinges on exploiting enemy weaknesses. Each character is tied to an element: fire, wind, water, or earth. Fire beats wind beats water, and water beats fire. Magic users are tied to earth and have neither any innate strength nor weakness. At the start of the battle, all enemy soldiers are unmarked. You can see where they are, but no details about them, making the decision on which unit should be used against whom a little tricky, unless you scan them first, or they attack you. On top of this, all attacks last 2 full combat rounds, regardless of who initiated battle. You want to only engage the enemy when you have the upper hand, and even then, you'd be smart to keep your healers handy. One advantage I think Crystal Warriors had over Royal Stone was the monster taming mechanic. In some ways, it may have undermined the elemental system. Defeated monsters, which are different than soldier units, could be tamed by your warriors and bust out during duels to fight in their stead. So, let's say you have a water unit handy, but you need to fight a wind enemy. Gaming logic dictates disaster, but you could whip out a fire monster and you'd gain the advantage. I spend a significant amount of time in Crystal Warriors hunting down monster units and stocking up my character's arsenal of beasties. I thought it added a fun collectathon aspect to an otherwise pretty simple game. Royal Stone gutted it. Now, only Eva can tame monsters and only evokers can summon them, And then you can only get an Evoker character by leveling up Magi, and you can only level up a Magi by buying the contract from the mystery shop. It's a shop that only lists question marks and prices. You don't know what you're getting until after you've paid. And there's only 2 Magi in the game, so yeah. We went from every character summoning monsters to maybe 1 or 2. I suppose it's more balanced this way, but it's also less fun. And even then, Evoker is a late-game class change. You'll spend the majority of the adventure unable to summon any monsters, although you can include them in your party roster, which is admittedly pretty cool. Crystal Warriors also ekes out a win in terms of finances. In Royalstone, the player is awarded plenty of funds to keep the party fully equipped with the best available arms and recruit all available party members, provided they manage to kill all the enemies in the previous battle. You'll rarely have to think about your budget, which is fine, I suppose. You're rich, yay, enjoy it. But in Crystal Warriors, spending leads to deliberate choices. Do you purchase the badass attack magic or recruit a new hero? And if so, which hero do you choose? Rarely can you afford both. In this way, money management is directly tied to replayability and provides a real opportunity for the player to affect the course of battle. But I'll gladly give up Crystal Warriors' monster system and tight economy in exchange for Royalstone's town exploration. In the former, the map was identical from town to town. There was always an inn to recruit possible party members, 2 buildings with flavor text NPCs, 2 shops, and a fortune teller. Over and over and over again. The towns were functionally no different than a menu. In Royalstone, however, each settlement is unique. The shops change, the people change, but more importantly, there's things to do and things to see. It fleshes out the world and adds an element of gravity to the situation facing Eva and company. The towns are also used to add further insight into the storyline. In battle, while you control every unit in your small army, it's clear that Eva is the central character. She's the catalyst for the adventure, the one making all the difference in the world. But she's not your narrator. In town, Coquette serves as your avatar. Her official role is that of an advisor or guardian, and she never participates in battle or impacts the plot in any meaningful way. But functionally, Coquette can witness Eva's actions from an outside perspective and hear the gossip that the locals would say about Eva, but not necessarily to her. Now, third-person narration isn't common in video games. More often, the central character is imbued with unearned humanity simply because the player is more inclined to sympathize with a character they control, even if they perform heinous acts. But in Royalstone, Eva's internal thoughts are unspoken, and her past is hidden from the player until well into the adventure. Through Coquette's eyes, Eva is permitted to remain neutral until her actions speak otherwise. Given Royalstone's elevated storytelling and graphical presentation, it's a real shame that the series ended with the Game Gear. I would have loved to see how Sega could have expanded on the mechanics of the Crystal series in the 32-bit era, or attempted to top Royalstone's high benchmark. But they didn't, and instead a promising series lived and died on a dead console barely anyone played in the first place. Anyway, that's the end of the video. If you're interested in playing Crystal Warriors, it's a really inexpensive Game Gear cartridge, but it, like Shining Force and Defenders of Oasis, is currently available on the Nintendo 3DS eShop for a couple of dollars each. Royalstone has, of course, been fan-translated into English thanks to the work of Aeon Genesis and Friends. So if you want to play that, and I know that you do, you're gonna have to settle for some sort of ROM situation or reproduction cart, which I did not just advocate because no one who actually put any work into making the game playable for you receives any sort of compensation for bootleg physical cartridges. And that's a whole nother video. Good day and goodbye.